Conservative MPs in Cornwall have hit back at critics who claim the county will get less than half the funding it would have received from the European Union without Brexit. It was announced last week Cornwall will get £132 million over the next 3 years from the Shared Prosperity Fund, SPF. The fund is said to provide the replacement funding that Cornwall would have received if Britain had stayed in the EU. As one of the poorest regions in the UK, Cornwall was due to receive the funding to make up for any shortfall after Brexit. It has been estimated the county would have received £100 million a year from the EU had Britain remained in the bloc, Cornwall Live reported. The new funding announcement has been slammed by critics who say the plans will see Cornwall receive less than half of the funding it would have received without Brexit. A number of local councillors have accused the government of breaking promises Cornwall would get the same or more that they would have received after Brexit, and failing to make good on their levelling up pledge. Independent councillor Tim Dwelly said, when the government pledged categorically to match Cornwall's EU funding, £100 million a year, some people fell for it. Others like me predicted it wouldn't happen. We could see how little was earmarked in the budgets. Now Cornwall is to get just £129.5 million over 3 years from the new Shared Prosperity Fund. Not £300 million. Just 43% of what it should be. The equivalent of £43 million a year, not £100 million. This, I'm sorry to say, is what many of us call levelling down. Making Cornwall poorer as a result of a direct government decision. However, Conservative MPs have claimed to have debunked the claim, arguing the £100 million figure a year was not recognised by the government. MPs have argued that local opposition made the £100 million a year claims based on a bid submitted by Cornwall Council to the government seeking £100 million a year, which it said would make it no worse off after Brexit, rather than the true amount Cornwall would have received from the EU. Cornwall's MPs asked the House of Commons Library to comment on the estimates. Their response stated, "We don't think it's possible to meaningfully estimate how much money the UK, or any part of it, would have received if the UK was still in the EU. This is because if the UK had not voted to leave the EU, then the EU budget for the 2021-27 framework period, and therefore the EU funding allocations within that budget, would have been made in a very different political environment. Attempting to work out what the resulting budget would have looked like therefore requires so many assumptions as to make the result effectively meaningless." Sherry-Lan McCrory, MP for Truro and Falmouth said, "This independent research makes it clear that claims Cornwall would have received £100 million a year had the UK remained part of the EU is not a figure recognised by the Hock Library." I would welcome a breakdown of this figure from the opposition parties that repeatedly quote it. Thanks to this government, Cornwall will have more money per head from this fund than any local authority area in England. I look forward to working with the government to ensure this funding is delivered at a local level by the people who know Cornwall best, so we can directly tackle the issues affecting our local area. However, critics of the funding announcement have pointed out that it was the current Conservative-controlled Cornwall Council that submitted the bid to the government last year, stating that Cornwall would need £100 million a year, or £700 million over the next 7 years, to make up for Brexit. The document, submitted in November 2021, said it was crucial Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly, SEOs, got that level of funding. It stated, it is estimated that in order to be no worse off compared to the current ESIF programme, SEOs will need to receive £700 million from the UK SPF over the coming 7 years, or an average of £100 million a year over the period, with an additional 3 years to complete the spend of this investment. Jane Kirkham, leader of the Labour group at County Hall, said on her Facebook page, wondering if anyone else has noticed that £129.5 million over 3 years isn't the same as the £100 million per year we've lost by not being in the EU. In fact, it's less than half. But Scotland and Wales will receive the same in real terms as they used to under EU funding, and an index of need will be used to allocate to authorities and regions within Scotland and Wales. I'm sure the Tories said that in the budget about Cornwall too. Are they trying to quintuple count the 2019 Towns Fund again? Or claim we'll be running off the EU money from 2020 as far ahead as 2025? Yet again, they've come up short for Cornwall. Over £150 million short. Nevertheless, Conservative MPs have welcomed the announcement as great news for Cornwall. Steve Double, MP for St Austell and Newquay, said, "It is great news that the government has today confirmed what it has said all along, that Cornwall will not lose out with its replacement for EU funding now Brexit has taken place." In fact, Cornwall has by far the largest amount of SPF funding per head of anywhere in England, recognition that we remain at the forefront of the government's levelling up agenda. Crucially, this funding will be much easier to administer and deliver than the unwieldy, poorly targeted and often unspent EU funding, and will be managed locally, by the people who know the area best. Excellent news for Cornwall, and I look forward to seeing the funding programme develop so we can continue to deliver for our duchy.